What is happening, bunch of builders, and welcome back to the Falcon Rescue. This is a 1964 Ford Falcon that had been off the road since 1985. In our last video, we rescued this thing and we attempted to get that motor going. It ended up being quite the boat anchor, but we weren't going to give up on this little car, and so we installed a 200, and now she is running and just about ready to get back on the road. Our next step though is I would really like to go ahead and detail the exterior of this car. Most of it looks like it's actually original paint, and I am excited to see what a little bit of elbow grease will do for the outside here. Now, as mentioned previously, this car spent most of its hibernation in a barn. It's only been out the past few years. And thus you can see this paint is super dry, super caked, it's super baked in. Like most of the cars that come out of barns we see, it's like that barn dust just penetrates and eats its way down into the paint on these things. And so first thing, we need to go ahead and blast this thing off, get the mildew and grime off of this paint. Get the car blasted off, our next step is going to be clay barring. Now what this process does is pulls most of the rest of the contaminants out of the top of the paint. So if you listen here, hear that kind of rough sound? That is little bits of trash, a lot of barn dust and stuff that has been left in the paint, kind of baked down into that layer there. And so what we use here is a quick detailer and a clay bar. And what this is gonna do, kind of spritz it down, and then you'll just work it in, and you'll actually feel this pulling up the trash. It'll kind of get smoother, but you'll have to kind of push into it, and then it'll smooth out real nice. And see all the trash I've pulled up, and a lot of little bits of pieces of that green paint that have come loose too. Once we get it pulled up there, we'll take our microfiber, wipe it down. Look at that. Quiet, smooth, but it's only gonna get better. Most of the time, it's a lot easier just to go ahead and pull your wipers. You've just got a little clip here, kind of pick that back a bit and pry it right off. Now that we're all clay barred, nice and smooth, let's see if we can burn into this paint a bit. Let's see if we can burn into this paint a bit. Let's see if we can burn into this paint a bit. Let's go ahead and get started. So what I've got here are some optical grade heavy extreme compound, which is V32, some conditioner, and we've got an extra heavy cutting pad here. 3 little dabs, there's 1 huge one there. We want to do small sections at a time, not working too far, not giving ourselves too much surface area to have to tackle. We'll go ahead and start with a 1 and work it all in. Now we'll kick it all the way up, and one thing to consider, this is old and very thin paint, and we need to be real careful around our edges. Now with a clean microfiber, it looks way better, but I don't think it's as good as it could be. This one's going to be a time-consuming one, but I think this car is worth the extra time. Let me try one little spot. I think we're gonna wet sand this whole car. We are just so all over the place on this car, trying to figure out just the right steps to take to get the paint as nice as possible. Obviously, it's a very fine line between burning through and not having too much orange peel, but it's just what we're having to do to save this paint. It's either that or clear coat. But I want to be able to do, this is a budget-friendly car, and so what we're trying to do is something that you could attempt in your driveway over a few days to dial it in. And what we found is wet sanding with 1000 grit by far is the best. So this is just buffed, and I guess that's factory. It is a very dull, I just don't think so though. It's so dull. This is original paint, and we can tell now that the doors had been painted. So there's original paint underneath. I'm not sure why they were painted. It still looks pretty good, and I think it'll look good wet sand. It's just a little bit darker, but still really close. But as you can see here, it looks nice, but there's just absolutely no sheen to it. Whereas wet sanded, boom. You can see me there in the reflection. That's got a really nice finish there. So that's what we're gonna have to do, is just take our time and wet sand all of this before we buff it by hand 1000 grit. Because the problem is with the DA is it does well, but it eats so quickly through stuff, even with the foam interface. And you catch swirls when you're using the DA. The hand buffet, the hand sanding gives us by far the best finish. It's just extremely time consuming, but it's something we can do. I say extremely, it's not extremely time consuming. It's just quite a bit more time consuming than just hitting it with the DA, but it's looking the best, and I think it's going to give us the nicest finish we possibly can with this car. And even though it's a little 4-door, I think it's deserving. as we're doing this, please remember we are not professional detailers, and if there's any steps you see that maybe we're doing wrong, feel free to comment, maybe some suggestions that we can do. And actually a lot of the steps that we do with these cars, if you notice, we've started doing things a lot differently, detailing. A lot of the steps we take are suggestions from you. So anything you see that maybe we need to address or work on or do a little bit differently, leave it down in the comment section. You know, we enjoy bringing these cars back and detailing them and just seeing this transformation. And we're excited to bring you all along with us. And I just want to thank you all for allowing us the ability to do this. You know, bringing these cars back wouldn't be possible without all of you, so thank you. Now, although quite a bit more time consuming, I just love putting on some Brazilian some Brazilian carnauba wax. And it's just something about laying it in, pushing it into that paint. And then seeing that finish when you're done. Man, that is sharp. For what it is, again, far, 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 far from perfect. But for the first wash and detail in 38 years, original paint, I guess it's not too shabby. So if you notice just how nice the stainless actually comes out on this car, and that's because we're just buffing it just like everything else, we might as well go ahead and buff on those bumpers a little bit. Now, this one's a little bent, and so is the front there, probably from pulling it out of the barn years ago. But I think we're gonna have to get the car driving to straighten those out in our next video. Take one of our rougher old pads here, some mag and aluminum polish. Make a big old mess, and then work it just the same. Now, obviously, not gonna fix the pitting, but it takes all your staining off. Definitely makes a pretty ugly bumper a little bit better looking. Well, here she is, now far from perfect, but for such an original car, we're excited for it to have come back the way it has. Definitely still a little bit of work over time to do. The problem what we were coming into obviously was how thin this paint is getting and trying to get the trash cut out of it. And then the couple different panels. Actually what it is for some reason they've been resprayed, but I don't see lines. I don't know. I wonder if maybe they did that at the factory, like they use different paint on different panels or something. If you know, let me know in the comment section. If you know, let us know down in the comment section. But here she is. Now she runs and she's detailed up. Our next step is to build the brakes, dial in some of the interior, and let's attempt to take this thing on its first drive in our next video. But I really hope you all have enjoyed the progress of the car to this point. You know, the idea of something like this is this was a fairly inexpensive car. You know, we're not doing a full blown apart restoration on it. We're working on taking it back step by step on a budget, something you can do in your driveway, in your garage, and getting this little car back on the road after 38 years. But I really hope you all did enjoy, and if you enjoyed this kind of stuff, bringing these cars back to life, all of our other fun rescues, be sure to hit the subscribe button, notification bell to keep up with our future uploads. And if you have been a part of the channel, as I mentioned before, we do appreciate it so incredibly much. It's because each and every one of you that Dad and I get to do this right here, bring these old cars back. But that's gonna wrap it up. Peace out and catch you all on the flip side.